And welcome back to the Survive Scale Soar Podcast. We're starting a new series inside of the podcast called Elevated Conversations. These are going to be conversations with members of JLA Realty Omnia Elevate. We're going to be talking a little bit about their decision of joining, what it's done for their business, and then we're going to dive into their business and get to know them better. And so we have our first conversation today that'll be going live on the podcast, and it's with Francie Watson. Francie, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Jeremy.
So Francie, we've known each other for a long time. Tell us about how we met and share that story, and then we'll talk a little bit more specifically about Omni Elevate.
Okay. Well, we met. I don't even remember when we met. We were both in another brokerage in the area in the Kingwood Market area, and you were helping me with some difficult situations I had in some transactions as the assistant team leader in that office. And your door was always wide open, and I'd always stop in with Jeremy. Now, what do I do? And you walked and talked me through some pretty difficult situations, and I always appreciated that and knew that the door was always open, basically, that I could talk with you.
Yeah, I remember those, and in that role, it was important for me to be able to help the agents and be that resource, because doing this business alone is difficult. I don't know how somebody can say they're self-made in real estate. It takes a village, and I know there was times that you would come in and share something with me, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to go find the answer on that.
Yeah,
So,
right.
I still have that today after 22 years in the business,
Exactly.
and but I
Yeah.
but I always appreciated you as an agent. There's a lot of people that'll shoot from the hip, and you were one of those that wanted to make sure it was done right. So I always appreciated you coming in and having those conversations.
Well, thank you. And I'm still dialing your phone saying, Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, it's there's something new every day.
Yeah, yeah,
It's never the same thing, and that's one of the beauties of
exactly.
this business is that you never get bored.
That's right. No, you don't.
So you were with this other organization for a while, and then we kind of parted ways. I went and did some work with an expansion team, and did that for a short period of time. And Harvey had other plans for
Mm,
my future, and opened a coaching business. I've been coaching since 2010, agents all across the country, and so opened my own practice and did that, and got bored, wanted to do something different, and had the itch of building this thing we call JLA Realty Omni Elevate, which I'll share real quick with the audience. Is there's a confusion. They're like, oh, you're building this team. Yeah, a team in a sense because we all work together, but it's really an organization inside of JLA Realty that I'm leading, and it's comprised of solo agents like yourself, and we have legitimate teams that are also a part of it, but they're branded accordingly. They have their own brand. Omni Elevate is really not advertised at all. It's just something that we have as a group, to be able to identify and be able to participate together.
I
So
think of this like a networking team.
yeah,
So
absolutely,
kind of a support group,
absolutely.
networking.
And so I started this. I think you and Kevin at the time was with you.
Mhm. He was.
Were the second and the
Yeah.
third to
Yeah.
join our organization,
Yeah.
and it was early on. So tell us about that decision and why you made that jump.
Well, like you said, Kevin, my son, was working with me. He'd been with me for 7 years. And each of us, he and I each were beginning to we were kind of at a staleness, I think, in our career. And as we began talking, we realized we each felt like we needed something different. And my thought at the time was coaching. And I knew you were doing coaching. So I reached out to you and I started talking with you about getting back into coaching. And that was about the same time you were getting started with with JLA and Omnia Elevate. And as you tell me about what you were going to do, I thought, wow, we need to find out more. And you suggest that we sit down with John Altic, our broker, and we all did that. And I was like, Kevin and I looked at each other and like, this is what we need to do. We needed a kind of like a fresh start, is kind of the way I look at it. I kind of needed a fresh start in my career,
Yeah,
which I've been able to do here.
yeah, and I appreciate that. And there's many different reasons why people join, and that was important to you. Tell us about that conversation. So we sat down all together with John. I think we met over at the Humble office
We did.
in the
Yeah.
conference
I had
room.
never met him before either. I'd heard about him, but I'd never met John.
And so we met in there. And what was your thoughts when you came out of that meeting?
My first thoughts about John, meeting him and what he's done and what he's built in JLA Realty, from a very small handful of agents to what, over 1,600 agents now. I, all I can say is he's brilliant. What he is building is brilliant, and I want to be a part of that. And I know that's, and having had work experience with you, I knew that I wanted to work directly with you.
Yeah, and I was kind of the same way. I knew of John. We were in the industry. We started about the same time. I believe we both started around 2004.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we were competitors even for a while.
Right.
And but I didn't know him real well. And I know in that initial conversation that I had with him, it kind of opened me up to I'd always thought real estate was done in a certain way.
Yeah. Me too.
And it got me to expand my thoughts.
Right.
Did you it seemed like you had the same feeling when that happened.
Yeah, I did definitely. And as I joined JLA and began, John does the weekly calls, which was tremendous. And listening to him and going to his boot camps and everything, I thought, this is a breath of fresh air for me. Like you said, I had been in a certain brokerage type environment basically my entire career until I came over. Oops. Oh,
Yep, you're still there.
did I lose you? Okay.
Nope, keep going.
I was trying to click something else off. I lost my picture on my end. Sorry about that. Um, but anyways, there. Okay, sorry about that. It was just a breath of fresh air. That's the only way I can describe it. It was starting over in some ways. I started listening to John and um, his weekly talks that he has every Thursday. And I thought, I'm hearing things from a different perspective that I'd never heard before. And even after, at the time I came over, let's see, I'm almost 20 years now. So I guess it was right around 17 years for me in the business. I was learning new things from John. And I thought, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And that really opened my eyes a lot to what was going on within the JLA environment. I also realized very quickly after I got into this brokerage and your team, your team, that I'm free to be the agent I'm meant to be, if that makes sense. Which we are. We're independent agents, under the umbrella of our broker. We're working under the broker. We have his permission to work on his behalf, but I'm free to be who I'm meant to be as a real estate agent. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful realization of what JLA offers to the
Mhm.
agents. They get to build their own brand.
Right. Right.
If they come over with a brand, they get to keep their brand. It doesn't
Hmm.
go away.
Hmm.
And that says a lot because there's a lot of companies that don't allow that, or
Right.
they restrict it at such a high level that you really don't get to be the agent you want to
You're
be.
really not an independent agent.
Yes, it's
Really.
almost this can be a bad word, but you're almost treated like an employee, which
Hmm. Right.
is we're 1099s, and I think
Right.
John really honors that,
He does. He definitely does.
and that's great to hear. It's I think
Yeah.
it's a big part of why people do move is the first thing they ask me is, well, can I build my own brand?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It took me a while, you remember, to kind of get over and kind of grasp it all, you know. But it's good.
Yeah, the basic minimum you have to do is you have to have either the JLA logo in blue, white, or
Right.
black, or it has
Right.
to be in Word, and that's it.
That's
And
it. That's it. Signage and everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so that's a big difference.
And I appreciate
Um,
that. Yeah.
yeah, and somebody's listening to the call today, and they're thinking about making a move. Nobody likes change.
Right. It's
Um,
hard.
what was it, or what got you to the point to say, you know what, I think I'm going to entertain this. I'm going to look at it deeper
Mhm.
and do something different for myself.
Well, after my first time, I reached out to you after I said, Kevin and I had, we each had been thinking separately that it was time to make a change, but we hadn't vocalized it together. And once we came to that decision, and I began talking with you, the more I learned about JLA and your Omnia Elevate group, I realized, yes, this is where I need to be. And it was scary. It was scary to make that jump. Um, as change usually is scary. Um, and I had, like I said, I'd been with another brokerage for about 17 years in a totally different environment. So it was scary, but it was fine. It worked out. And I don't even look back. I'm very happy where I am
And
right
I know you're big on education, training,
now.
your background. We're going to get into that here in a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
Is education.
Yeah.
You made a comment to me just, I think it was just in the last week. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, I was in a dentist chair. I never miss calls, but I was in a dentist chair and missed this call. And my phone blows up and it's you. And you sent me like 4 or 5 texts. You're like, this is call is probably one of the best calls I've ever heard. And
Yes.
I've paid thousands of dollars in coaching and going to
Yes.
seminars and everything. Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh, Jeremy. John's call, it was a week ago, and I'm listening to it, and I'm thinking everybody, every new agent, everyone out there needs to hear what he's having. And he was basically just talking about what we are as independent agents, and how it's important. So many things he was talking about, the importance of being in touch with our people, talking with people, getting things done. Just everything that I really pretty much believe in as a real estate agent, like it's a people business. Yes, we have technology, but technology is a tool and it's a wonderful tool. But again, it's a people business. We have to pick up the phone and call them. Don't just rely on it. Anyways, I can get off on that all day long, but it just it just hit me to a point because, as you know, I mentor new agents, which I love doing. I had begun doing that at the other brokerage, and I think I was pretty much instrumental in helping you get that started within your Omnia Elevate program. And I love doing that. I had some excellent training. I had two excellent trainers that you knew them as well, with the other brokerage, that I learned a lot from them, but they both really influenced me in two really specific ways that I've carried on. And I feel it's important that especially brand new agents need to know. And like we were talking earlier, I still call you and say, or text you, say, Jeremy, what do you think about this? When I'm in a transaction and something's coming up. I did that just the other day. I've done that several times recently in several transactions. I never stop. You have to have the learning attitude. And that's kind of what John was talking about too. Never stop learning in this business. And I tell our newer agents too that I'm mentoring, I call Jeremy, I call another agent just to kind of run an idea beside them, because we're in such a rapidly changing industry. Um, we're never finished, and we never should stop learning, as far as I'm concerned, because things are constantly changing.
Oh, it is. You look at the influence of AI. You look at it,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so fast. What you learn today is old.
Is old,
Um,
exactly.
so
And the market's old. What the market was 3 months ago is now old.
yeah, it translates right into the business. And
Yeah,
I do want to thank you here on the podcast for coming to me with the mentorship. It's been something that been kind of in the back of my mind, and you came to me and just said, "Hey, we need to do this."
yeah.
And so we've got some established mentors here at
Mhm.
JLA Realty
Great.
Omnia Elevate. And it's a requirement of our new agents to
Yeah,
partner with a mentor for the first 3 transactions. And yes, there's a small fee for that, but the return on it is
worth it.
immense. And
I would have I would have paid for it if I'd had that opportunity
oh,
years ago.
100%. Again, it takes a village in this business. We can't
Yes.
we can't come into this business thinking, oh, we'll learn it all on our own. We'll do it on our
No.
own. Worst thing you could do is practice on a client. And that's the quickest way to get you in trouble.
Come practice on me.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what one thing I used to do in the another brokerage was with the agents before the presentation or a buyer's presentation. And I used to listen to a lot of people do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, it's a powerful part of our program is the training we offer above and beyond what JLA already offers. They offer a lot of training and boot
We do.
camps
We have a lot. The
and
boot camp is
but
fantastic.
but it's above and beyond that we're doing inside of our group that I think it attracts a lot of agents. Final question on about coming to JLA Realty Omnia Elevate
Mhm.
is we've got people that are probably watching that may be new, maybe
Mhm.
experienced. They're
Mhm.
looking to land somewhere, or they're thinking about the value that they're getting at the current brokerage
Right.
they're at is just not worth what maybe they're paying.
Mhm.
What would you say to them about maybe initiating a conversation with myself to talk about what that might look like for their business?
Well, it certainly wouldn't do any harm to have a conversation to find out what it would look like for their business. It's gone beyond my expectations. Of course, the financial gain is has been very good. The tons of training that's available, and a lot of it is different remote programs that are available. You know, there's also other in-person trainings that go on. The boot camp is excellent. That is probably the best training that I've ever had. And I've been to multiple boot camps because things change constantly and there's always new information. And I learn something every time I go. Besides, John's pretty interesting to listen to and watch. He gets
Yeah,
pretty animated.
teaches from a chair sometimes standing on
Entertaining,
it.
he does. He can be entertaining.
Yeah.
um, it was worth, I was scared coming over, but it really was worth making that leap. And it was a leap for me to do, to
Mhm.
change, you know, to get out of my kind of set in my ways um, position
Yeah,
and do
and Kim Scott says it all the time. We're not a tree. You can move.
you can move. I haven't heard that one, but I like that. That's so true. You
Yeah,
can move.
yeah, you can move. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and I think that insight's important. One of the things I'll share is whether somebody joins me or not, it doesn't change how I feel about them. It doesn't change, my desire that they be successful in their business. I think a lot of times people play teams or they will associate with a particular brokerage and maybe they're stuck there.
Yeah,
They can't see the forest through the
you
trees.
can't. It's
And
hard sometimes.
yeah, and it's okay to have the conversation because at the end of the day, it could be that, it really isn't a fit for me, and
Hmm.
that's okay.
Yep, right. It's not for everybody. Exactly.
And there's been times I've had conversations where that person was not a fit for us,
Yes.
and that's okay too. So
Right.
it's not about body count here. It's about
Mhm.
bringing in people that truly have a desire to do the right thing, first of all, but to build a business and be successful. And success
Right.
for agents could be anything. It's not what I think makes them successful. It's what
It's
their
what,
vision and their dream is.
yeah, it's what they think makes them successful.
Yeah.
And it can be at all different levels, but that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
That's okay. We don't have to have a multi-million dollar 20 agent team.
Yes, exactly. Though we do.
Yeah,
Uh, so we do have a couple teams that are doing really, really
yeah,
well with
yeah.
us and keeping a lot more of their money. So that's a whole nother conversation.
That is another conversation, but that's very nice.
So Francie, I want to jump in into talking about you. I want somebody that's coming on that might be thinking about buying, selling, investing in real estate in the greater Houston area. I want them to know Francie Watson. So give us a little bit about just growing up, who you are, your values
You mean outside of real estate, growing up
outside of real
outside of real
estate. Yeah, I want to
estate?
know the real Francie
Well,
Watson.
my roots are from Florida, and I still have the sand in my shoes. You just can't get it out of your shoes. My heart's still there, but I've been a Texan since 1987 when we moved out here, and my husband went to work for Continental Airlines, good old Continental back in the day. So we raised our kids here. We have 4 children. They're all grown now. We raised our kids here in the Kingwood area. I'm in the Kingwood area. You know, and as they got older, I went into real estate when my youngest son was pretty young originally for a couple of years. And that was before we had all the technology. And with my husband traveling, it was next to impossible because I had to be in person for everything. You know, so I gave it up and came back in 2010. and I've been active full time since 2010. Finished raising my kids, got them off to college. Now, two, almost three of them are going to be married. My youngest son will be married soon. I have four and a half grandchildren now, so which I absolutely well, it's about 4 2/3 really do really soon. But that's one of my family has always been my big why. I'm extremely family oriented, children, kids, pets, everything. And so having grandchildren, I have two, almost three grandchildren in the Houston area, and then my other two are in Tennessee. So I've been fortunate that I took off the end of May and first week of June and went to Tennessee to stay with my two grandsons while their parents went on a cruise. And I was thrilled to be there with them. I had transactions going on. I think I listed a house while I was in Tennessee, and I love that flexibility. When I came back into real estate in 2010, I was debating go into education, back into education, get my certification, which has always been my heart's love, or real estate. And I'm like, I want the flexibility that I know I can get in real estate, which it does. So, so having that flexibility to be able to travel, bring my computer. If I need to do work, I can still do it. Be here with my children, go out to my daughter's house and stay with her two kids in just a couple weeks while she goes to the hospital to have the baby. I can do that, and I'll have my computer. And those are some of the things that I love about what I do and why I continue doing it. And I can't see myself stopping.
Yeah, yeah. What I appreciate about you is, you're talking about the freedom and flexibility, and that's
Yeah,
oftentimes the wrong reason why people choose the business. But the way that you balance or really counterbalance, there's no such thing as balance. The way
right.
you counterbalance it, I appreciate seeing you do that because I know your family is very important.
Mhm.
You had like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, you had three listings you took. I think two of them went under contract.
Huh? I
And
call it
so you have that freedom and flexibility to be able to do those things, but you're still working really
I'm
hard.
still working and I got swamped at those times, and that's okay. I understand that you have to kind of plan ahead too, especially when I'm traveling and I have to have somebody I can call on as a backup. But one thing that I learned the first time I got licensed in the late 90s, I'm dating myself, everybody out there. I took a class. I did my training all in person because we didn't have the online. And the lady that was teaching one of my classes, I forget which one it was, had been a single mom raising 5 kids, and I had four. And my husband was traveling for work all the time. And after the class was over, I walked up to her and I said, "How did you do it?" And she said, "Everything is an appointment." And I have never forgotten that, whether if it's your personal life. She said, if you're going to a kid's game at 4 o'clock, you put that on your calendar as an appointment. So
Mhm.
if somebody wants to see a house at 4 o'clock, you tell them, I have an appointment. I don't have to go into the details. Oh, I've got to go take my child to a baseball game, and I'm a
They don't
blah,
want to
blah,
hear
blah.
that.
They don't want to hear it. And I don't want to hear it as a real estate agent either.
Mhm.
Don't, when we're in transactions, don't tell me about your prom you're getting anyways or games, because we can work around that and it doesn't have to become a part of our business life. That's our personal life. But everything's an appointment. And I have never forgotten that, you know, what she taught me. And everything goes on my calendar. Now I'm using my iPhone for my calendar. I've gotten away from the paper calendars. I still love them, but it's so easy because this is with me everywhere I go. So if I meet a new person, I immediately put them in my phone. If I'm scheduling an appointment for anything, before I move, I put it on my calendar in my phone and give myself a reminder too. A
Yeah.
couple of reminders so I don't forget about it.
Yeah. If you're a new agent thinking about getting in the business or you've been in the business 20 years, that nugget alone is probably worth you listening to this whole podcast.
Everything
Um,
on your calendar.
everything goes on your calendar and everything's appointment, including time with your spouse,
Right.
time with your kids, time
Everything,
with your
whether it's
friends.
personal, business. If I'm going to go run errands, I'll put that on my calendar where I need to go.
Yeah. And then you don't have an excuse for it not happening.
Yeah, right.
So, great piece of advice. Tell us about the areas that you work in. I know you live here in Kingwood. I live here in Kingwood as well. Yeah,
Mhm.
you do business all over the city.
I do. and that's by choice. And it's been fun. It's been interesting because before I got into real estate, I was in the Kingwood bubble and I didn't go too many places until when I started getting into real estate. I got out into the world and discovered we've got a great, big, beautiful city out there. And I've made relationships and I have family members in different parts of the town. So yeah, I will pretty much go almost anywhere. I recently sold a house as far away as Matagorda. That's probably the farthest one away. And now I have a listing up in the Texas Grand Ranch area too. So from that extreme, from Katy, I've got a listing in Katy. So from Katy to I've got Kingwood, all those areas. My philosophy in that is it's helped me get to know the whole city. But my philosophy is I live in one of the largest cities in the country. Businesses all around us. Why should I not take my business to other parts of the city? Why should I not serve my clients? If I've had people buy houses in other parts of the town. Texas City was one. I sold their house in Kingwood. They bought one in Texas City. And then a couple of years later, they reached out to me because they wanted to sell it. And I listed it for them and sold it. And I kept up those relationships with those people in between as well.
Yeah, you've built that relationship with them, and they trust you, and it's not like they've moved across the country. Anywhere in Houston's an hour. You
Exactly.
going
It
to
is.
the front of Kingwood takes me an hour
You
sometimes.
took the words out of my mouth. And sometimes that's the longest portion of our drive time is
Yeah,
getting out of Kingwood.
yeah, yeah. So no, I appreciate that because you've grown a large business, and you, especially those agents maybe that are newer, over time, you're going to have those agents that are maybe right there in your geographic area that move just across town.
Yeah.
And you're going to start developing those relationships with those people that are going to move there, and
Mhm.
they're calling and you and asking you to do the business because they
Yeah.
trust you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how the Texas Grand Ranch listing were clients. I had sold their house closer in Fall Creek several years ago. And they reached out to me to find out if I knew an agent who worked in their area. And I said, me, I can do that.
If you haven't seen this listing, go look it up. It's in Grand Ranch, beautiful community, luxury home on acreage.
Beautiful. Yeah. We
Yeah.
just lowered the price. So
There you go. You
yeah,
get in for a little less, but
that's
it's
right.
it's important. You talked about this at the beginning of the call about relationships. Just like having the relationship with you, my relationship with John and the leadership team. Amanda Seidel and Kim Scott.
So, yeah.
Um, Real estate on the consumer side, facing side, is all about relationship too. Tell me about that.
Well, I buying and selling a home is a very personal and emotional experience for buyers and sellers. And we have to be there for them personally. Yes, we have a lot of great tools, texting, all of everything goes into our MLS system online and it's out there in the whole world practically. But we have to get to know our clients. They need to get to know us. They have to be comfortable with us. We have to show them that I'm a real person and I really do care about what is going on with your real estate needs. When you're working with buyers, as you're out showing homes, you learn an awful lot about what they are looking for, what they want, their family needs, and things like that too, which is
Yeah.
important in the whole transaction.
Yeah, it's very personal. It can be very emotional.
Very, very.
And you're highly skilled, and I think it's that teaching background. You're highly skilled at de-escalating and keeping them focused on the
Whew.
prize.
Yeah, that's
That's a
that's
skill
one of
set.
the tough parts.
It's a skill set in itself. Some fun questions. What's your favorite food?
That's my favorite food. Oh gosh, Jeremy. Probably because I live in Texas, something Mexican.
Yeah, yeah, I can't go wrong with that.
Queso, pico de gallo.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be Texas because once you start going, like, Mississippi has terrible Mexican food.
Oh, no, no, you can't eat Mexican food in Mississippi, Jeremy. No, 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 don't do
They
that.
try.
Not
Uh,
east of, don't you know, east of the Mississippi River, you can't eat it.
yeah, absolutely. What's your favorite movie of all time? What movie do you like?
Oh gosh, I'm a sucker for our Hallmark love stories. One of them that's coming to my mind is movies I used to watch with my daughter. She still watches it now with her little girl, like movies like Princess Diaries, the old Disney Cinderella. You can tell I'm a grandmother with a 5-year-old granddaughter who loves all the Disney princess movies. So that's kind of where I am right now with those. And of course, the Hallmark Christmas movies. And so I can't really pinpoint one all-time favorite.
Yeah,
Um,
so Thanksgiving and Christmas, you're busy watching the Hallmarks, the new ones
yes,
for the year. Yeah.
I think
Um,
it's so crazy, but
what do you like doing outside of real estate? What's your hobby? What do you enjoy doing?
I hate to say it, I don't have a lot of hobbies outside of my family. I spend a lot of time, pet sitting and, taking care of my grandkids when I'm not doing real estate. Several years ago, I got my husband started on feeding the birds. Of course, we live along the greenbelt here in Kingwood, so we get a lot of birds and got to know the owners of the bird store here in Kingwood really well, and they're a wealth of information. And so I enjoy now every morning sitting outside when it's not 100 degrees out in the morning with my coffee and watching the birds at the bird feeder and just seeing a lot of interesting. So I guess I could kind of say that's a hobby besides taking care of my pets
Yeah. I,
and
I think
family.
I think it might have been you that kind of got me into that. So like
It probably was. It probably was me.
I've got bird books now, and I sit back
Yeah,
there and try to identify them. And we've
we
got
do too.
an owl right now
Yeah,
that'll eat the
that was
birds.
impressive. I saw
Yeah,
that.
it likes to eat the birds off the
I
feeder.
know.
So
I know. We get hawks over here that do that every now. I'll run out there and chase them off. My husband's like, "No, they need to be here." I'm like, "No, they don't."
Um, what's one nugget that if somebody's on this call, whether it's joining JLA Realty Omni Elevate or they're building a business and maybe they've even been experienced agents, you shared a good one about appointments, but what is one nugget or piece
Mhm.
of advice that you would like to leave the people with on the call?
Well, always be learning, have a mindset of learning because this business, you and I have seen, Jeremy, and in the past couple of years, the rapid changes we've had in this business this past year alone. We have to be learning constantly. We have to have a mindset, a learning mindset. Don't hesitate and doing trying something new, doing something new. Don't be afraid of it. It is a little bit scary, but don't hesitate to ask a question from somebody, just maybe to confirm what you're thinking. Your gut might be saying one thing, and I've learned in this business to also trust my gut. If that's not scientific, and I will tell my clients that when we're especially talking about pricing and things like that. Um, but don't stop learning.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And you can see it in the production of agents that may have been in the business a long time and they've just chosen not to learn anything else
Yeah,
or how to do the business and you can just watch a really great business fall apart
yeah, yeah,
because they're not learning, they're not adapting to the changes, they're
yeah.
not pivoting. This is one of those businesses you got to pivot constantly.
You do. It's easy to kind of get in that kind of rut of like, oh, I already know what I'm doing. And on the other side of it, if you're a new agent, you're going to have a lot thrown at you. And that gets very overwhelming and very confusing. And I finally, I remember going through that in the early years, wanting to try everything. Everybody says I need to do this. Somebody else says I need to do this. And finally getting to a point where I made up my mind that I was going to pick one thing that sounded like something I would be good at doing, like whether if it's in marketing, for example, and do that and just do that very well and concentrate on that. So I wouldn't continue to get overwhelmed and want to try out every new little thing that comes along because there's going to be a lot.
There's a lot. It's a water hose. And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
feels like a water hose until you pick that. So,
yeah,
um,
right.
and choose that. So, Francie, thank you for your time
Oh,
today,
well, you're
and
welcome. I enjoyed it.
appreciate you sharing lots of wisdom shared. Some things about Omnia Elevate and why she joined. So, I encourage you if you're looking for a space. Nobody's ever died from a conversation. Uh, reach out to me, and again, it's one of those things. I've been in the position where I was forced to recruit a certain amount of numbers and
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
evaluated for that and
Mhm.
could lose my position for that. And I'm not in that place anymore with what we're building here. So if it's
Yeah.
not a fit, that's okay. If not right now is not the time, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's just good to know other people out there in the industry. And
Mhm.
because we're going to do a transaction at some point together,
That's
I'd
right.
rather know you.
That's
So
right. Yeah, it's very nice when you're working across the table with another agent that you know and
yeah,
and they have your values and all too. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you again, Francie, and I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. My
And
pleasure.
until next time, onward and upward.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy.